The Girl in the Fireplace, Steven Moffat's second attempt at writing for Doctor Who. Is this episode the best of the David Tennant era? Let's find out. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Doctor Who Revisited number 9, I think? 8?
Not 9. No.
8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's 8.
Anyway, today it's The Girl in the Fireplace, which was Steven Moffat's second ever episode for Doctor Who. If you include the Curse of the Fatal Death thing, technically third, but no, that does not count. Okay, so Kernan, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. What'd you think about The Girl in the Fireplace?
So I know a lot of people really like this episode, and I really like this episode. I like it a lot, but I think I'd probably like it a little less than that big group of people. I think including you, who think this is like one of the greatest.
I do think it is great. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's see. We can start with David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, who, I mean, Series 2, he's still good, but I've always thought he wasn't quite up to where he gets in Series 3 and 4. But he is great in this. He's amazing. This is only his 6th episode as the Doctor. And then Rose and Mickey is also in this episode. Billie Piper and Noelle Clarke, who both do an amazing job. I love the addition of Mickey Smith in this episode. I think it helps a lot. He doesn't do a lot, but I think it just gives it a little more, you know.
Yeah, I think the 10th Doctor, this is like one of the 10th Doctor's best episodes. They do a lot with his character in this episode, giving him a love story, which normally Doctor Who doesn't do for the Doctor.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of that with the 10th Doctor. Think about it.
Yeah, you're kind of right. But I will say this episode does the 10th Doctor's love story the best.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a little unbelievable because the 10th Doctor's only met her like a few times on different points in her life. But I feel like from the 10th Doctor's point of view, it's not really a love story. One of my favorite things about this is how they perfectly blend the past and the future, you know? Doctor Who, a lot of the time, it takes place in the past. A lot of the time, it takes place in the future because, time travel's a thing. And in this, they perfectly blend the two because, they land in the spaceship in the whatever they said, 51st century or whatever. And then this thing, it has gateways to the past, which is just like an awesome idea to blend those two elements, which is, Doctor Who is so often either it's a historical episode, an episode taking place in present day, or in the future. But this blends it together so well.
When it comes to this big, expanded stuff where it's gets really deep into time travel, like with River Song and how she's in a different timeline, I'm still a little confused about that. And this is one of the things, I'm still very foggy on, how time there is different from time there, and that's all different.
Well, it's not exactly that. It's that there are different windows that open up to different points in her life.
And see, I can never understand that. But I will say, for people who don't understand very many things about the show, they made it very fun. Just the Doctor popping up and and then 5 years later, he's like, hey.
Speaking of, people who might not grasp these complex concepts as much, let's talk about, I know we're skipping to the end here, but the last shot, the very, very last shot of this episode, is so ingenious. It just pans out and you see it's called the SS Madame de Pompadour, which explains all the questions that you still have. And it's so, because instead of, having an explanation, it's just the very last shot of the episode, everything makes sense. You don't necessarily have to be used to these complex stories for everything to make sense in that moment, which I think that's just so ingenious. I know people complain about the Chibnall era and how much things are explained and spelled out instead of showing. And this is a perfect example of how to explain things without having to give a full explanation. I just love the last shot so much. I think it's genius.
Yeah, that was good. That was good, Moffat. That was good. Skipping around a little bit. So, if you've seen our latest video, I think, the companion tier list ranking, go watch that. You would know that there was a lot of one-off companions in that list. There was Lady Christina.
I know where you're going with this.
Astrid, and there's one companion who I think should have been on that list. Arthur the Horse. Where was he?
That is not where I thought you were going with that.
No, I do think Madame de Premier should be on that list, on that companion tier list.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, if you include people like Astrid and Lady Christina, the next Doctor, I mean, realistically, you'd
Exactly.
think she probably should be on there. I was thinking that when I was watching the episode.
Yeah. And Arthur the Horse. He should have been on there too.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
So the whole premise of just this ship that didn't have the parts, and they used the crew to fix up the ship. That's an idea I absolutely love. And then they need this last part, the brain, which brings about this whole mystery of like why her. The Doctor, Rose, and Mickey, they still don't know the answer, and the whole thing leads up to that mystery. And then that final shot just works so well. I don't know who played Madame de Pompadour, but wow, she was done really well. I feel like she's, when you think about like the best performance of a famous historical figure, it's often you get like, what's his name, Tony Curran or something from
Yeah.
Vincent and the Doctor. And then recently, the guy who played Nikola Tesla's Line of Terror, they were like the two, and I'm like, wow, they really capture that historical figure. But I always overlook her. I think it's because this episode, it blends that futuristic stuff and the historical stuff.
Yeah.
So you kind of overlook it as like a historical episode with a famous historical figure. I mean, I guess maybe you could say Tony Curran captures the character a little more than her because you don't really get to see her life because it's not really about that. It's about this other stuff going on as well. But yeah, she's great for sure.
Yeah. There's some of my favorite episodes of New Who.
Yeah.
These 3 episodes. Um and I think it may be because the performances, especially in this, are so, they capture you and they really bring you deep into the lives of these historical figures. And I knew that was the case for Vincent van Gogh and Nikola Tesla, but I don't know why it works so well with this lady.
Okay, so if there was one negative thing I can think about this, and it's super nitpicky, it's not a big thing at all, but it's just a weird inconsistency that is weird because the Doctor says that he knew, he was almost certain that when he jumped through that mirror, went back in time, that he would be stuck there. Like he knew he'd be stuck, but then at the same time, he's knowingly trapping Rose and Mickey in this spaceship forever. If he knew he'd get stuck, and that just confuses me because like in Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, we did a Doctor Revisited on that. Go check that out. He sends Rose back because he knows it's too dangerous. So if he knew he was gonna get stuck, the Doctorish thing to do would be to send them back home. You know,
Or
not
even
strand them on a spaceship forever.
even just leave the key to the TARDIS and a list of things to do to get back to that time.
Ooh, let's talk about the clockwork droids. They're wonderfully creepy.
Oh my, they're terrifying.
They're great. I mean, there's not too much done with them. They're just kind of people that walk around, but they're interesting. So, yeah, I think they're good villains. They work well.
I think also the Doctor, some of his lines in this episode they're so funny and so just like 3 in particular I have are like Mickey's like, there's a horse on a spaceship, and he's like, why is 19th century France on a spaceship? That's funny. And also when he's like, I'm the Lord of Time. And my favorite, what do monsters have nightmares of? And then he says me and just flips around. That's such
Yeah.
a good moment. Oh my gosh.
Recently, Peter Capaldi has way jumped up my estimation. It's between David Tennant and Peter Capaldi for my favorite Doctor. And this just reinforced that David Tennant is my favorite, I think, for now. Really quick, before we get to our rating, which I'm dreading, let's talk about the ending, which is heartbreaking. It's done really well. I don't know. I find it hard to believe the 10th Doctor would have like a huge emotional response to that because you didn't really know her. You met her a few times all on the same day from his perspective, which, I mean, it's fine. I'm not complaining about that because obviously it would really hurt to know that you promised that you'd be right back, and then she spent her whole life waiting, and then you get back and she's dead.
Alright, so I think a lot of times in movies even, writers, just to save time, skip it, or they're even just too lazy to make a full love story, and to make it believable. So I will counter argument you and say I found it super believable that the Doctor was upset, because I think he was really starting to love whatever her name was, the French lady. And so when that letter came along, that Godspeed my lonely angel, um he could have, that was like an emotional punch
Well,
for
yeah. Either
us.
way,
Us.
I can believe him reacting like that. But I don't know. He literally, like, he's known her from his perspective for a day. I don't know. I see what you're saying, though. Okay, then. Let's move on to a rating out of 10. Do you know what you're giving this?
I think I do. So I was thinking about this, and I gave Darlic an 8.8 out of 10. And I gave Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways an 8.6, I think. So I was highly considering giving it an 8.7. But I think I'm going to give it I think I'm going to stick to an 8.8, but it is above Darlic.
I'm stuck between a 9 and a 9.5. I gave The Day of the Doctor a 9. It's been at my number 1 for a while now.
Oh, I hope this is the day. I finally hope that this is the day.
I'm so conflicted right now. I really am getting the feeling I'm going to regret this later. But I guess I'm just going to go with what I feel right now and stick with the 9 out of 10. But that means I still have to decide if I'm going to put it above or below The Day of the Doctor. I think this is going to stay ever so slightly below The Day of the Doctor.
Oh, I have my Day of the Doctor in 5th place.
You have Sleep No More above it, don't you?
Yeah. So I've been doing what you just did, and I just went with my gut this whole time. And yeah, I kind of have
You do come to regret it later, don't you?
feelings on Sleep No More and The Parting of the Ways.
I know looking back at some of the ratings I've given the episodes and where I've ranked them, I do kind of regret at some times where I did it and kind of changed my mind. And my mind's constantly being changed. I'm sticking with what I said. There you go. So for me, that puts The Girl in the Fireplace in 2nd place. And for Kernan, it puts it in 1st place. So there you go.
Very weird, because mine has a lower rating than yours.
Yeah, that is weird. I guess that just means I've been giving things higher ratings, I guess. I have, because you haven't gone into the 9s, have you? You haven't.
No.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. There you have it. This is The Girl in the Fireplace, which is great. Is it going to be another one that we think is great? Let's find out. Gerald. Okay, we're back. Drawing the next episode.
My guess is series 8 or 9.
Here, I guess I'll take a guess too. I'm gonna go series 4.
Oh, hopefully.
All right, here we go. I have one.
I
guess this is the one, I guess. Oh.
No, what is it?
Oh, no. This is a 2-parter from Series 6 that I'm not a fan of. It's kind of bland. It's The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People.
Yeah, I don't like this.
That is, definitely broken our streak. I'm definitely not very excited. It's not that it's like there are egregiously bad things about it, but I think it's just bland and boring. That's what I remember. Yeah. And it's 2 parts, so it's like...
Exactly.
Well, whatever. I guess that's what we'll be doing. Before you go, make sure to check out the playlist over on the left of your screen to get caught up with this Doctor Who Revisited series. We got reviews of now 8 episodes over there.
Yeah, this is our 8th.
So there you go, and then you can come back next time. All right, see you later.